That's right. Welcome in. Welcome back, folks. Spring is in the air. Not really. It's freezing cold and miserable here, but for football purposes, spring is in the air. It just feels good to have football back. Football, not everything else. Oh, John, what's the rumor of why this guy didn't go to Notre Dame and went to Michigan? Not me worrying my head and spinning myself into the ground over what happened with the offensive coordinator hire. All these philosophical, existential questions that I value, that I love, that's why I do this show, is those existential points of Notre Dameism and all that. Sometimes it's good to just yell about football. I admit, I think some of this winter's getting to my mind with all these questions and all the rumors and all this and that off the field for at least a little while till this summer window now. We get some football talk, some practical on-field, seeing what we have. Seeing what the new coaching staff looks like, how they operate, how they blend in with what we already got going. All of that. Key position battles, important big position battles, new important big position battles with capable players that we're not always used to at those positions. It's exciting. It's exciting. I'm just thrilled we get to watch a little football. And again, here's the funny part with this. The funny part of this is, you're addicted to college football. You're addicted to Notre Dame. All you do is, I want football. I need football. I want football. I need football. Then you get spring football, and you end up in the age-old dynamic of, and I remember this with the blue and gold game my whole life. The offense does a lot of good stuff, and you're going, is the offense really good or is the defense really bad? And then the offense struggles and you go, is the offense really bad or is the defense really good? Or is everybody going to spin this as nobody's really showing their full hand? Don't take anything out of this. Like even with all of that nuance in the mix, I'm just thrilled to have football back for a month or whatever it's going to be. In my mind, you guys, I'm already dreading the summer layoff. I almost, how do I want to put this? The excitement of Freeman's first year, like the buildup to what that was going to be, was a unique flavor of excitement because of all the newness. And I was thrilled about that. 1 year ago today, sitting in this seat, I remember thinking, can't wait to go to Blue and Gold, feel the new vibe with Marcus. Everything's going to be different, all that. You add that excitement, but also it was in the back of my mind, like there are some major roster issues on this team Marcus is going to deal with year one, and that tempered some of my excitement. This is a totally different thing. It's like year one, get in there off your gut and run things the best you can based off your feel and your gut and your knowledge. If you're Marcus last year, putting this all together with a whirlwind running into your first year, then I think now's the calibration. And you might even be able to argue this is a bigger deal because that year one, everybody kind of understands you're doing the best you can, try and get in there, get comfortable, go off instinct or whatever, set things up off the instinct. Now's a critical period because you're through that on the other side of that. And it's like we kind of found our levels. How is Marcus going to adjust from there? Calibration is a lot to do with this. I hope it makes sense how I'm putting it to you guys. That the best Freeman could do last year is put together a plan he thinks works, that he's comfortable with, that our guys and coaches can make work. Now you learn. Now is the time where, not even now, in the winter was the time. Now you're in it again. There had to be a period in the winter where Marcus sits there and just looks at his notes. What worked? What didn't work? What do we need to get better at? What do I need to change in my messaging? Or practically, what do I need to change to get things more where I want them? It may be a thing where in some areas he looks at the boxes and goes, I'm perfectly happy with where we're at. I think we're on a right track. For other boxes, he may go, we got to do something different this year to get a better result out of this group. That calibration year 1 to year 2 is like, to me, I don't want to overplay it, but it's a main inflection point on Marcus Freeman and his adaptability in this arena. And I have a very high standard of how he's going to do this. And the reason why is I feel like Freeman's supremely tied to reality more than most guys are. There's just a lot of examples that tell me Freeman's supremely tied to reality, sees what the regular fan sees the areas we're good, sees the deficiencies, and tries to attack them. I think that's a strength of Marcus, and that's why I'm excited to see the calibration year 1 to year 2. And the other reason the calibration year 1 to year 2 is such a big deal to me is you have that year 1 learning, year 2 calibration. Year 3 is a big year for a lot of reasons. Number one is historically at Notre Dame, a lot of coaches get a lot of great things done in year 3. I don't know why that is. Could just be happenstance. But year 3 seems to be a year where a lot of coaches that are going to hit at Notre Dame tend to hit year 3. So aside from that historical Notre Dame fact about year 3, I also look at it this way. I believe that it's wild to think about. We're already in 23. So the next year is going to be the new playoff format with the 12-teamer and all that stuff. So year 3 is already a demarcation point for Notre Dame coaches already historically. And then you're going to add in this new playoff format, which, by the way, if it's a 12-teamer, I expect Notre Dame to be in it almost every single year. If not every year, almost every single year. A 12-team playoff should allow Notre Dame to be able to lose their top 1 or 2 biggest games on the year, have them circled, and still be in the tournament. Think about how wild of a shift that is. Currently, we feel like we got to be pretty much perfect to make the tournament. 1 loss, believe it when I see it. We've been close. 1 loss, believe it when I see it. Okay. But there's going to be a lot more flexibility to make the tournament coming up in year 3. Notre Dame's got to be in that mix every single year. 10-2 or better. Like Notre Dame's in the top 12 at 10-2 every year. Are they not? Somebody tell me if they disagree, but I think 10-2 Notre Dame should be in there most of the time. And that means you could lose 2 games. We're used to having to play with the pressure of, if you're not perfect, all your goals for the year ruined. Now, that's a pressure Notre Dame chooses by not being in a conference full time and having the extra flexibility, safety net, and all that of being in a conference where you could lose a game and then come back, still have a better chance of making the playoff. But you know what? It's the Notre Dame way. I'm not after it being easier for Notre Dame. My goal is for us to win it, doing it our way. Doing it our way. I don't want us to sacrifice on NIL, start making shortcuts, do all this. Make the grades to where it's a joke. I don't want any of that. I'm on a crusade for Notre Dame to prove somehow, some way in the modern era, you could try and do things right above board and have it work out and be rewarded for those efforts and at least trying to do it the right way. And I know I'm usually Captain Negative, but on the positive, altruistic side, on the karma side and all this, it'd be really nice to see a team trying to do it right, be rewarded for those efforts. But it's a lot of extra work. It's a lot of extra worry. It's a lot of extra prep. And it just takes extra everything. And here's the other thing about Notre Dame ever getting to the top of the mountain again. And I've been thinking about this winter too. When you're thinking about what it would take for Notre Dame to get to the end, meaning winning a championship again in the modern era, it's going to take extra work. It's harder to recruit. We all know that. You're casting a smaller net. You have to be more precise, less margin for error on the recruiting trail. The guys you have in got to develop. There's just less margin for error operating the way Notre Dame does in every way. Grades, recruiting, whatever, however they do it. Okay. What else Notre Dame's going to need to make this all come full circle and then have a great playoff? A little bit of luck. A little bit of luck. With help, with a ball bouncing one way or the other, you're going to need a little something in one of those years. Even 2012, that obviously fell short of the finish line. There were a couple opportunities where things could have gone one little other way, and none of that even would have been a thing for us to be embarrassed in early January, right? The Pitt triple overtime field goal fest, the whole thing. I believe that was Pitt. Like, the kick goes in instead out by another 6 inches, and you're not having that problem. So you're going to need some luck too. With health, things falling together for you, who you play, all that. So there is a path for Notre Dame to do this in the modern era, but they got to be really, really great at the things they can control. Do the right things to put themselves in that position, take advantage of opportunities, and have a little good luck along the way too. Lucky Shamrock, why not? So I don't know where all that just came from. It wasn't on my notes. It just came out of my head. So thank you for being here, everybody. We're going to get to the roll call in a minute. The phone lines are wide open. When I'm not, when we're not in the season and we have the morning shows, sometimes a bunch of people show up. Sometimes it's a smaller group. Whatever it is, I'm just happy you're here. If anybody wants to call in with anything about the spring at all, I don't care what it is. You can shoot anywhere you want. Your goals for the spring. What do you want to happen? What do you want us to accomplish? What are your biggest confidences going in the spring? What are your concerns? What are some position battles that you want to see take place and have some good battles there? What are you trying to be able to decipher out of the coaching staff, all the new moving parts? What are you looking at when you see these clips that the beat guys post? Are you wanting to see them verbal, running around, getting after it, or just, anything in the spring? Who needs to step up to get Notre Dame where they need to go next year? I have some of that on my list here too that I want to get into. So today is just more of a celebratory, I'm glad football is back type of deal. Any direction you want to go with spring ball, you can put it in the chat or feel free to call. We're good for that too. The phone lines are up and running again. I don't know what happened, but we should be good to go. So that's kind of what I want to do. And I'm open to any and all of your spring thoughts. Serious ones, more lighthearted ones, whatever you got. So obviously, you already know we're on YouTube. Do it. Subscribe if you haven't yet. I appreciate it. Give the video a thumbs up. That really helps as well. It's one of the things YouTube looks at to see who's interested in this. And if people like it with the thumbs up, they shoot it to more people. So it helps more than you realize. Notifications on. That way you'll be alerted every time a new episode drops. You don't want to miss it. Twitter, search bar, Always Irish Rat. Always Irish Inc. Emails, alwaysirishindy@gmail.com. Audio only anywhere you want me. You can get me. Call in line 312-900-8815. Tell Johnny all you heard and seen. Fighting Irish Wire every day. Type it into Google and read all about Notre Dame. All sorts of spring stuff going on. I'm really excited to see what comes next. Meaning, very small, short picture, short window of time. What I mean by that is, right now I'm excited talking about spring and all that. I really am excited to start getting back the reports from people that are at practice. That's where it really starts to get interesting because it'll start giving you a starting point to figure out where the staff thinks this is all starting from. Like, that's not where it's necessarily going to end, but it's going to give you, when we start getting those initial reports back, it's going to start giving you an indicator of who they are inclined to run out there with the ones first at this position or that position. You and I both know one of the big questions is going to be, what's the division of reps between these quarterbacks or how do they look? Some of that stuff. getting into the linebacker situation. Who are they running out there first? It just gives you an indicator of where we're at. And I'm not trying to overanalyze spring. So there's a really fine line between overdoing all that versus still trying to use it to inform you, right? Like of where we're at. So I don't want to overdo it with how some of that comes out and looks. But I do think it is going to be kind of telling. And so we're going to do, I see a phone call, 219. I'll get to you in about 1 minute, 1.5 minutes. Hang in there and we'll see what he thinks. So we're going to do a couple shout outs and then get to the phones. And then depending on what he says, I'm going to get into my list, what I'm looking for this spring. First things first, Eric Tomo, good morning. In case you're interested, from 75 to 84, my dad took me to every ND home game, Divine and Faust. For the last 32 years, I've been practicing attorney in Lansing, Michigan. The only, Eric, I appreciate you, and I'm very interested. You're the #1 donator to this radio program this last calendar year, and I can't thank you enough for it. You're keeping the phone lines going. When you guys donate a super chat or whatever, I don't want you to think I'm going out for a steak dinner. All that money goes into more technology, keeping the phone lines running, paying for the streaming program, and oh, by the way, maybe even paying for a couple tricks I got up my sleeve for next regular season. Wait and see. I might be cooking something up that I think some people might really enjoy for the season. So, Eric, I thank you a ton. I appreciate it. The only downside to your story is you're in Michigan. That's the only downside to that. Paul Conley with $5 holler. Good morning to you, John the Great. Please help John with the super chat. He deserves it. Getting very excited about spring practice. I appreciate that as well, Paul. Thank you very much for promoting me. I appreciate it. What do we got? I trust Hartman as his body of work is solid. Buckner, the king of throwing interceptions and interceptions for touchdowns against Cal, South Carolina, 3 total. Yeah, that's an issue. There's a lot of upside with Buckner and a lot of kind of inexperienced downside. And that's the frustrating part is I feel like a lot of the mistakes we see from Buckner are things that with more experience, maybe he would grow out of or learn not to do. It's just he hasn't had the body of work to be out there for enough games to be able to get to that point is kind of the issue. And so it's like a knock on Buckner and not at the same time. If I could see the guy play 12 games in a row of solid football and incrementally get better, people wouldn't have this worry to the extent that they currently have this worry. Like, that's my point. Paul, like the quarterback room with Hartman and Minchie, and we obviously already talked about Buckner, a big step up from last year. Huge step up, and in a position group of dire need where you needed a step up. There's a lot to like. There's a lot to like there. Here we go. All right, I'm going to hold the comments right there. Get to them in a minute. Take a first phone call. If it'll load, let's go. 219, you on the line?
John, what's up, buddy? Happy football day, huh?
I'm just glad to have it back, man. I don't care if it's spring or not. I'm just glad to have some football action. I want to know, man, what's on your mind as we're starting this spring? You could go a lot of different ways. It's the first day of spring ball. All these changes. Talk to me. Tell me where you're at. Where's your mind going as we start?
Well, my first thought is the excitement, just seeing a little bit of the highlights they've been putting out of just the receivers moving around, the young receivers. And then my second thought is just a little bit of worry about the linebackers. The linebackers and the D-line.
Yep. And you know what, man? I don't know. Those are where, when I just sit there and I have these Notre Dame thoughts on the plus side and then the worry side. On the worry side, that's where I fall too. And I don't know if I've poisoned the well on my show by putting that out a lot with just my existential worries about those areas. But I've talked to other people and they kind of agree. So I'm just a little nervous there. What could happen that'll make you feel better about those positions in the spring? Anything? Or is that wait and see when you get into real games? Like, what could make us feel better about that?
It's probably wait and see for the, I don't think you're going to see much of the spring. You're probably going to have to wait and see to the fall.
Right.
Before you really see about how tough we are up front on defense.
Yeah. And now here's the other thing too. I see two really different issues. When I look at my concern with the defensive line versus linebacker, they're two different issues to me in this way. I feel that the linebacker group has way more guys they could pick from with varying athleticism and experience to be able to mix in there and put a group together that's athletic, that works. I feel like there's more flexibility there. Up front on D-line, sometimes I just worry we don't have guys big enough to clog it up and stop the run, and I don't know what you do about that problem.
Yeah, you worry about who's going to rotate inside.
Right.
Defensive tackle. The rotation. I feel like the linebackers, there's plenty.
So what are you looking at? You have like what? Mills, Rubio over there, and Cross and Kenyanana and Jean-Baptiste and Junior Tui Alavaka. Like what do we got going here?
Yeah, I think that the ends will be fine with the rotation. It's just the tackles. I'm worried about the tackles. When Mills and Cross get a little tired, who's coming in for them?
Yep.
That's going to stop the run.
Yeah.
Hold that line so the linebackers can run free. That's my biggest worry. But that's kind of stuff we probably won't see till the fall. So I guess right now, John, I'm just kind of excited to finally see football.
I know.
And really see this new Freeman era. Last year, people could disagree with me, but last year kind of seemed like it was kind of like a half Freeman, half BK holdover, trying to maintain the status quo, where this year I feel like this really feels like a fresh start, and it really feels like the start of the Freeman era now, today. Am I wrong by saying that?
No, and I just think practically you could argue that Freeman's DNA is a lot more on this squad than the one a year ago, which makes perfect sense. There's more of his players are in and Kelly's are out. The staff is flipped way more in a Freeman higher way. So it makes total sense to me. And if you could get to blue and gold with both quarterbacks healthy, you're already miles ahead of where we were last year. The bar's pretty low on what counts as progress in that regard.
Yeah. All right, John, I'm going to get off. I just wanted to call and say happy football day, and I got to get back to work a little bit here. But
hey, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this real quick. You going to tailgate for blue and gold? You going to go do that?
I think we're going to, as long as the weather's good.
Yeah.
If the weather's halfway decent. If it's a real crappy day, maybe not. But I would say probably like 75%. Yeah, we'll be there.
All right. Well, we'll be in touch on that because we got to meet up for sure. And I'm gonna just give your my microphone to your wife and let her yell and record something. And then,
oh yeah,
I love when she gets mad.
She wants to call in sometimes. And
let her tell her to call me. I would love talking to her. I hear her yelling in the background sometimes. Have her call. Tell her to drink a few and then call me one day. I think it'd be a riot.
Oh yeah, definitely. She gets more worked up than I do sometimes. It's great.
It's very entertaining. All right. Get back to work.
What? On the negative, when I listen to you in the morning, sometimes she'll be like, "Do you seriously have to listen early in the morning to this?"
Hey, listen, man, I can't blame anybody that doesn't want to wake up and start their day listening to my voice and seeing my face. I don't even want to do it. Okay. So I don't blame anybody. Hilarious. I don't blame anybody if I'm not the first thing they want to see in the morning. I get it. All right. I don't want to stop you from working. Get back at it. I'll talk to you.
Yeah, I got to work, but I had to call. I hadn't called in a few weeks, so I had to call. But hey, go Irish. Happy spring day, guys. Let's enjoy some football.
There you go. Have a good day, man. See ya later.
See ya.
I just think it's funny how he always calls me while he's working. It's a riot to me. I love people that do that. That's dedication. 618, I'm coming to you in 1 minute. Oh, man. All right, let's see. Where else? I got to get through the rest of these chats. I don't want to leave anybody out. Bruce, Jacksonville, Florida, representing the Irish morning team. Hope everybody's doing well. This should be an interesting episode. I hope the QB position is a real competition. Iron sharpens iron. I'm going to tell you, practically, by the way, everybody subscribe to Bruce. Covers a lot of sports, covers Notre Dame, got a YouTube channel. Hit the Format podcast for Bruce. Hardworking guy, good family man, loyal Notre Dame guy. Love him. Navy guy too, I believe. Thank you for your service, Brucey. Here's the thing. Practically, the best thing that can happen for Notre Dame practically is that both these quarterbacks ball out, look really, really good. And all the discussion is how do you pick between these two really high-level guys that bring different things to the table that are all high level. Practically, that is the best thing that could happen. The one tricky thing I want to avoid is I want to avoid a situation where it turns contentious or toxic with the fan base. Practically, that's not going to matter in the spring. But I don't want it to be all summer where you have Team Buckner, Team Hartman, and then we're all going at each other and everybody's convinced they know who it should be. So practically, a very competitive, high-level battle here is exactly what you want. That puts Notre Dame in the best position. One, competition between those guys raises the tide that raises all ships. And then number two is, if somebody gets hurt, you have a backup you actually like. Not the situation we were in last year. Big, big difference. Big, big difference. Oh, Angela, good to see you. What else does Bruce got? I believe that Buckner's a legitimate big play QB who could be top 10 to 15 nationally, add more weapons. He could be a serious threat. That may be true, but then I get into this philosophical box of, I believe what Bruce is saying. But then you throw Hartman in the mix, and then you ask yourself, why did the staff go after Hartman? The answer to me is they felt like they couldn't risk getting burned doing what they did last year should there be an injury or a bad situation, or you don't know what you're going to get out of the play, even if a guy's healthy. And so Hartman comes in with a very high floor that you know what you're going to get as a baseline, where even if Hartman's Buckner's healthy, you don't know that. You don't know that. And that risk is one they signed up for and took last year. And then when Buckner got hurt, it made the whole year a challenge. And so they tried to go that route, that developmental route, rolling with him and do it that way. And they got burned. And so Hartman's here to prevent that burn again. And I don't know what that does to all this big picture and Buckner and the development and all that another year out. I don't know. It's kind of just a complicated dynamic. Very complicated. Mikey Poles. Good morning, John. Just saw on ND's Instagram a side-by-side pic of Hartman and Buckner during practice, and man, the difference is glaring. I have not seen that picture. I mean, what are we talking? Hartman looked ripped out there or way bigger or what? Always good to have a Rudiger here. $1.99. That's a $2 a holler. Morning, John. Love listening in before work. I appreciate that very much. I want you to be here. Thank you. Terry says, what it do? What it do is me talking about Notre Dame. That's what it do. Of course, right on cue, Marcus has a live press conference right when I go live. Yeah, well, how did I know he was going to plan it for that? Here's the way to look at it. I'm going live now. You can watch Marcus later, right? I think Tobias Merriweather. Andrew, good to get back with you. It was clear he was the only deep threat. Styles is a possession receiver. Thomas, pretty slow. Coles, he had a good game versus USC, disappeared in the bowl. Yeah, Tobias, hopefully there's a lot more polish in the route running and how smooth he looks. Like just a lot more polish is what I'd be looking for. 618. Let's make it great. Good morning. Phone line is working, but slow. I got you.
How you doing, John?
What's up, man? It's good to connect with you. How are you?
Yeah. My take on the string is that we have a true quarterback competition and let the best man win. And to me, I know everybody is talking about what Hartman did in the ACC, but Hartman hasn't played a schedule as tough as this that what it's going to be at Notre Dame. He has never played this tough of a schedule.
Right, but boy, couldn't I argue? Neither is Buckner. Like, you don't know what you're getting out of him either, because I've yet to see a string of games of him like developing on a normal arc, and it's not his fault. It's just what's happened. And that's where it gets really tough. I would love to find a window for Buckner to just ascend. It's just the timing and luck has never been on the guy's side.
Yeah, even when they go, I think you're in a good situation, whether Buckner beat him out or not. I mean, I don't think he's going to beat Hartman out because I don't think it's going to be a true quarterback competition. I think what it is it's just going to be getting Buckner ready for next year if he sticks around. Hopefully he sticks around, because even if he don't stick around, you're back to square one again.
Yeah.
So you got Minchie and
Carr,
and you're still unknown. You're still at a situation where you're unknown of what you're getting.
Yeah, man, I feel bad for Buckner. He's just had a run of really bad luck and bad timing. And every time it looks like it's his time to be the guy, there's either an injury or they bring in a grad guy or like something happens. And so I do feel for him in that way. But I also totally understand why the staff wanted to go after Hartman. He was the number one available quarterback guy. He's a sixth-year guy, seen it all, done it all. Big body of work. You know what you're going to get. There's not really questions there as far as him being able to get the ball to people or whatever. There's a lot to like there. But if they're a healthy 1-2, no matter how this goes, Notre Dame's in a way better spot starting the year than last year for sure.
Yeah, yes, they are. And the defensive line and the linebackers is the concern for me.
Me too. Me too. And it's so frustrating, man, because we're so used to this defense being the engine that drives all this. And now I feel like the offense is about to bust out and I can't have the defense go back.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm looking at the Owls, bro. I'm looking at the Owls. Golden, Washington. Let's tighten it all up. I need double Owls. Let's go. I need these Owls to tighten the operation up.
I'm hoping that the Owl get it together. Even in the recruiting trail, I hope he get it together in 2024. I know he got some big names coming.
Yep.
That's coming for visits with Justin Scott and the one kid, the defensive end that's going for the official visit in June, man. But you got to get it done on the field, man, to make these kids wanna come.
Yeah, it's a big. Here's what I'm wondering. I wondered if you thought of this too. You know how they always talk about like in the season, week 1 to week 2, you see the biggest jump in play from a team usually. I've been asking myself, what's fair to expect year 1 to year 2 of a new coach that was learning his way, and now he has a year of evidence to kind of change his approach in certain ways. I'm looking to see some little differences between year 1 and year 2 that show Marcus is adapting and learning and pivoting where he needs to.
Yeah, and the same with me, man. I think this year is going to be a great year for Notre Dame, man.
Tough schedule.
Before, the last time I called.
Tough schedule.
It's a tough schedule.
Yep. Just how we want it.
You got Ohio State team that's breaking in a new quarterback. You got a Clemson team that's, even though he got playing time, he's still unproven. They got an unproven sophomore quarterback.
And at least you get USC at home. At least you have that. That should help.
Yeah, you get USC. Like I said before, I think USC would be the USC. I think USC will probably be the only loss. I mean, I'm hoping that it won't be though.
You're hurting my heart.
They won't lose.
You're hurting my heart. I look at that schedule and you gave me, you can only win one of these for sure. That's the one I'm circling. You're hurting me right now. I can't let that guy punk us at our place. He already did it in Hollywood. Now I'm going to let this guy punk us at our place. Is he going to come into Notre Dame with F Notre Dame on his hands? I can't handle it.
I just think he's the best quarterback in college football right now, man.
Well, I agree with that, but geez, somebody hit the guy. Stop the run. Don't let him run it for 6 downs on. Don't let him run it on you for 6 yards on first down, and then maybe it'd be a lot easier to defend. There's a lot I still am upset about with that thing in L.A.
Yeah, but they got to get the defensive line going in the spring, and they got to get the linebackers going. Like I said, that kid, the kid from Indiana, I can't name him off the top of my head. I really think that, man.
Who? The other Bowen?
During the spring.
The other Bowen? Drake? Drake.
Yeah, the real Bowen.
Yeah.
The real Bowen.
Yeah, there's only one real one to us. It's the one who's here, all right? It's the only one that matters. Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah. But I think Bowen is going to really step up, and he's going to show that, man, hey, I'm here. And then the defensive end that they got from Ohio, man, they're going to have to play freshmen.
Brandon Vernon? Right, you talking about Vernon?
Yeah, Vernon is the real deal.
I'm telling you this. I don't know if you've caught me or not when I've said this, but I've gotten to know his family and his parents very well from Ohio. And I don't know why they liked my show, found it when he committed to Notre. We've built a relationship. The dad tells me all that guy wants to do is eat, work out, do his studies, and then repeat. That's all he's been doing. He is laser focused on being at Notre Dame, cracking people's heads. He has the maturity above like a 17, 18-year-old guy, the way they think. He is approaching it the exact way I would want, and I hope he breaks out.
And I hope he starts. I mean, we're going to have to play freshmen. And another thing about the receivers, 2 of the freshman receivers need to step up and become starters this year.
I kind of want that too. Dude, I want that too, but it's even on my list, man. You're hitting on my list of things I wanted to bring up. But my question I was going to ask myself, now you brought it up, I could ask you instead is it realistic or fair for me to say that? Like, it's easy to say what freshman can come in here and play, but we're not Ohio State. We're not Alabama. We're not Georgia. We don't have a ton of freshmen that are physically capable to play right away. Give me one of them guys that could get in the rotation. It would help loosen everything up. I don't even care which one it is. Give me one of them. If it's Flores, if it's Greathouse, if it's James, I don't care.
I think 2 of them get in the start lineup and 3 of the 4 get tons of playing time.
But see, but look at the difference. Look at the difference right now. Look at the difference right now in the quarterback room and wide receiver room, the way you and I are talking about it this year versus where they were both a year ago. It's 100% better position to be in where we're at right now.
Right. And the only thing I hate about Buckner, another thing I would go back to Buckner, the only thing I hate about Buckner, man, is that if he don't win the quarterback position this year, what do you do with him? Because you got Minchie who will be learning, because I believe Minchie will be the 3rd string quarterback. No, nothing against the other quarterback that's becoming a sophomore, but man,
Angeli.
Nothing against Angeli, man. I just don't think he beat out Minchie to be the 3rd string quarterback, and then Minchie sitting around learning this offense and have a year learning this offense, and then you have Clark come into the spring.
Yeah. And so, here's what do you, all right, let's go down this path. Let's say there's a really good battle. Hartman's more consistent, has more experience. He wins the job. What do you do with Buckner then in the season? Say he doesn't leave and he wants to be at Notre Dame still. What do you do then? Do you build packages and pick your spots to have Buckner run more of an RPO run game thing to mix up looks? What do you do to keep him engaged? Or do you just run it with Hartman and then he's the backup in mop-up duty? Like, how would you navigate that if it goes Hartman, Buckner? What do you do?
But you can do packages with Buckner, but I'm thinking if Hartman wins the job, I'm going with Hartman. And, you know, I'm sorry, Buckner, man. Things happen, things change.
I know, man. I just feel bad. I feel bad for the guy. Injury, COVID, an injury, then COVID, then a red shirt, and then sitting behind the statue that's Cone, and then the stairs, and then what happened last year. This guy's had a banana peel he's been slipping on for 4 years.
And 5-star quarterbacks like Carr, man, they don't come to sit the bench.
No, they don't.
I'm sorry. They don't come. They don't come to your school to sit.
But I think, don't you agree? The big question is, I want to see if he maintains that 5-star and is that well thought of and gets into Notre Dame. I want to see what his level is right when he comes in as that 5-star. Like, where are we at right when the guy gets here as a 5-star guy to work off of? Is that enough that he could go ahead and start right away, or does Buckner get that year and then he waits behind him for a year? That's the next competition we're going to be debating, right?
And not only do you have that, you still have another stud in between them.
Yeah. You have Minchie in the middle there. Yeah. It's really interesting. But I would rather have these problems where I feel like we're arguing about who of options that we feel pretty good about are going to get the job than going with one guy like last year and you pray he doesn't get hurt. And even if he didn't get hurt, you didn't know how good it was going to be. Last year was a big risk, and we got burned, no doubt.
And back to the wide receivers, I think Flores and Grayhouse will be starters this year. Both of them will start this year.
Man, if you told me good depth guys that can contribute year one, maybe. But to see them starting, it'd be really impressive. But two, it would really shine a light on what we don't have in the wide receiver room presently, right? That's what it would really demonstrate.
Nothing against Lorenzo Styles and the rest of the guys, but Styles, I'm going back watching film with him.
He needs to wake up. I don't know what's going on.
Never getting open. He could never. Styles could never get open.
Something was off, man. Something was off with his game, and it almost felt to me a little Golson Wimbushy, where I felt like physically he has it. Something went wrong upstairs last year, and it just didn't work. I don't know what happened.
Man, I think he felt the pressure of them recruiting this third class of receivers, man, and it kind of. And not giving the freshman the opportunity, who probably was your best receiver last year, he didn't even get an opportunity to show that he was the best receiver.
Right.
And that don't come from, that's not because of him, that's because of coaching. It was because of coaching. I think he be your best receiver. I think as a sophomore, he gets 1,000 yards with either of the quarterbacks.
Wow. Yeah.
And then I think Greathouse and Flores, they do their thing, This might turn out to be unless next year you get like Wingo and McClellan.
That group's going to turn from a weakness to a strength really fast. Like it could really, really turn into something nice. And let me ask you this, man. What are your thoughts about the new coaches? A lot of changes. Drama with the OC situation. Like, do you feel comfortable with where we landed? Are you worried it's too much buddy stuff here, hiring the guys? Where are you at?
The reason why I don't worry, I have nothing against Ludwig, but he wouldn't even felt that pressure, like to be at Notre Dame. I would have wanted to stay in Utah too, because first thing first, look at the schedule that Notre Dame got.
Yeah.
Second, you have never played a schedule like that ever while you was at Utah.
All right. Now, wait. Now, I'm going to push back. That may be true, but you know what the guy did twice last year? Beat
He
USC.
beat USC.
43 points, 47 points, beat USC twice. I put a lot of damn value in that. I don't care who else they're playing out west. I value those 2 wins, baby.
But he has never played at Ohio State. He has never played at Clemson. We don't know if he would have folded against them teams or not. And then he would have changed things up. I mean, at least in year one, with Parker, you probably see some of the same things with Parker in year one that they did last year. But it's the progress and the growth of Parker in year 2 and year 3.
Yeah, it's a good point.
And hopefully he sticks around. And the one good thing that we would have never got with Tommy Rees, we got a quarterback coach found.
Yeah, imagine that.
Finally,
and you know what? I
actually
think that guy's going to be pretty good. I heard he's a very active recruiter and a good teacher. I'm actually excited about that. I think they could make a big difference.
Yeah. And trust me, Marcus Freeman's seen that, man. Like, look, dude, you're not getting it done. You're OC and you're our quarterback coach. And you're not getting it done with the quarterback, dude. We lost Dante Moore. We lost out on 4 or 5 recruits. You wanted to go after the Dante Moore. I'll let you go after Dante Moore. I said Dante Moore is the only thing. And we lost out on 5-star quarterbacks along the way that wanted to come to Notre Dame and not play the games that Dante Moore played. Him and his father played. Yeah. And we lost them because you wanted to chase Dante Moore. And then at the end, yes, we got a very good quarterback, but Dante Moore could have been in the mix this year coming in as the starter.
Yeah. Well, and unlike Hartman, you would have him a few years, wouldn't be one and done.
Yeah.
But I don't even want to go back and get mad about all that.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man.
I was one of the ones that was happy. I was happy that he went to Alabama. Reese went to Alabama. You get to get a big shot, but you're not going to run things. You don't run anything in Alabama. Saban run everything. So you don't got the freedom that you had at Notre Dame.
Yeah.
And it's going to come back to Hunter because if he have a bad season, we know the Alabama faithful is going to run him out of town.
Yeah, man. Let's listen. You know what I got circled on my calendar is LSU and Brian Kelly against Alabama and Tommy Rees. That is must-watch football, baby. I can't even wait for that.
I hope Reese runs him out the building, but I doubt it.
I know, me too. I want Alabama to lose every game except for that one, and I want him to put up like 55, a double nickel on his old boss there. Anything else, man?
The good thing about that game is in Tuscaloosa this year.
Yeah. Anything else, man? What
was mainly my takes, man, is the defensive line got to get better.
Yep.
If they don't get better, I'm not calling for firing.
There's something wrong.
Changes got to be made.
And listen, man, some of this you could see coming, looking at the guys we had and where they were in relation to going to the draft or graduating. But now that it's actually in front of us, I'm really worried about the depth. If you can't hold up against the run in those big 3 games, we're screwed. That is my number 1 priority.
Now, one thing I did give them about Clemson last year in the Clemson game, they did do well against the run against Clemson, and then they just totally blew it against USC.
Yep. You're right. Anything else, man? Final parting shot. What do you got?
Man, I'm saying it, and I'm sticking with it. 11-1 Notre Dame, man. And
all right.
And I hate to say that only loss is going to be the USC, but I think that's the only loss that we take this year.
Okay, I got you down at 11-1. Let's have some fun. Thanks for checking in, man. Have a good rest of the week. Call again whenever you get a chance. Really good caller.
All right.
Later. Right. Oh, what a nice guy. Always has energy. I like people that have energy. Kind of natural for me. Deb Thomas, hello. What's going on? Oh, we got some lawyers in the chat today. I better watch myself here. Watch what I say. We got some lawyers. Here we go. Resident negative cousin Luke. This is nonsense. Making excuses for 23 to start the show. Cousin Luke, I don't know whether you love Notre Dame, hate Notre Dame. I don't know whether you enjoy me or if you hate me. You are great at walking the line to where I'm genuinely not sure where you fall, whether you're trolling or whether you love USC or Michigan and you're just saying all this to make me mad. I don't know, but it's entertaining. Then he says, I'm out of here. He's been here every live show I've done, crapping on me and all my takes at Notre Dame every single week, every show. And then this was the one where it was too much. It's just funny to me. Cousin Luke, who I have no idea who it is, here every day. Just John, you're wrong. Freeman's a fraud. Notre Dame's going 6-6. They're going 5-7. All that stuff. Oh my God. It's so funny. But now today it's too much. I'm not listening to John's excitement about spring. How dare he be excited about Notre Dame football? I can't watch. God, that's funny. Michael sound top of the morning to you. Top of the morning to you as well. Oh, cousin Luke, don't leave us. Don't leave us. SB Flood. One thought, John, on the phone lines. Try to keep it a few minutes as your drunken piss friends use the show as therapy. I'm going to tell you how the calibration here on the phone lines. Number one is, it'd be really nice if this was a real radio show and I had a producer. The producer could handle the call-in technology part and answer the calls, screen them, get an idea what they wanted to talk about, make sure they could speak real words, and it's not a waste of everybody's time to put them on the air. That is how a radio show professionally works. I obviously don't have that capability. So the best way for me to divide up the phone time goes like this. If I look at the phone bank and there's 20 people on hold, then I got to go quicker to give more people a shot. If I'm in the mood to talk to people and there's 3 people on the queue because it's the off season and during the week and people are busy, I'm going to give each of those people more time because I don't have the pressure at 15 other people that want their voices heard that show. So some of that is a calibration depending on historically, if you called before, it tells me. And if I know you have good thoughts or ones that get the group engaged, that's one factor, how much time you get. If there's that history of you being a caller that generates that. But a lot of it simply has to do with how many people are waiting. The longer people go, there's fewer people waiting. The shorter they go, the more people there are. Without a producer navigating and qualifying the calls, that's the best I could do on my own. It's a moving equation and it's not perfect. And I haven't found an A+ way to navigate it that's foolproof. Look at this. A $5 holler from my own brother. Thanks, Andrew. You know what I think this is? I think it's Andrew giving me $5 because he's glad I'm no longer in Florida at his house bugging him. He's probably glad I'm back in Illinois. Andrew, really appreciate the $5 holler. Eric Tomo, $20 holler. Here you go. ND will keep Buckner engaged just enough this year that he doesn't transfer. Eric, it's a very, very good point. These coaches used to be the end-all, be-all emperors of their universe. Whatever the coaches said went, and there was really very little to no autonomy on the players' end to do anything about it. Meaning, let's say you're in a quarterback battle, you believe you should win it and be the starter, and you don't. And then you're the backup, and you're pissed. You felt you should have won it. You earned it. They give it to the other guy. In the old days, you could do 2 things. Sit there, wait your turn, learn from the guy ahead of you, and do the best you can in your backup role. Or if you're really mad, You could go ahead and say, screw you, I'm out of here, but you're waiting a whole year to play again. You're sitting out. Now that that's gone, the way these head coaches have to process these position battles and playing time is different. This is a direct example of how the big picture rule changing for off the field stuff has a direct practical effect on the field. And where I see this coming into play is because Buckner's so good with his feet, do you come up with a couple of these more run heavy base packages with him to confuse the defense and then use that? Do you do that as a way to keep him engaged, keep him happy, let him know he's important, let him know we still see value? Do you put it in the red zone, spread guys out, and then everybody's confused and he can run into the end? Like doing something like that, one, it could help the team by diversifying the offensive looks that the defense has to prepare for. And you're also keeping Buckner engaged. Now, the danger with that is if you get too silly with it, or at weird times, or it backfires really bad when you try and do it the first time, like then it's going to be tougher to keep going back and doing that. So if you're going to do those run heavy base packages just to premiere Buckner, you just got to know where you're going to use it, when you're going to use it, what you're going to do. So it's very organized and it doesn't have the opposite effect where you're going right down the field with Hartman and then we got to ruin that flow with Buckner and then it's something doesn't go well. Like you're going to have to pick your spots and be careful. But I do think, Eric, you're right that this is a new age concern that these used to be Emperor head coaches have to deal with. How do you keep these guys healthy without them leaving right away? In some cases, this affects teams that have a lot of 5 stars almost more. Because you got a 5-star sophomore starting a defensive line. You're bringing in a 5-star guy behind him at that spot. He's going to think he should play right away too. So in that way, you could almost out-recruit yourself into a problem. And then you got guys that aren't happy and want to leave. And oh, by the way, if you're dealing with 5-star defensive linemen, a lot of them, especially down south, which is where my mind goes, there's some dollares associated with that too. So now you got that complication because there's dough on the line. Complicated. It's very complicated. What else do we got? Thanks for the 20, Eric. You're the man. I really appreciate you. And then next time somebody sues me for something I say on this show, I'm calling you to represent me. Andrew Gilmore, everybody seems worried about the defense. I get it. But did you see how ND handled Rattler in the second half of the bowl? They completely shut him down. The pass rush was hitting him. Watts looked okay. Andrew, that's fine. But the issue is I don't have that defensive front this year that I had last year. So, I don't know how much I could take out of that when most of that defensive front has changed. So that's what makes me nervous. I don't know. I just have this fear. I just have this Notre Dame fear sometimes when I'm just sitting there of our big 3 games next year. And my fear is that we just get ran on to where it ruins everything else you want to do defensively because you're getting ran on. You're getting leaned on. And it isn't out fancying you. It's not out finessing you. It is none of that. It could just be they're going to try and lean on you. What do you think Ohio State's plan is going to be, folks? Play this out. I'm already 7 months down the road. Play this out. Now we're in a situation where Ohio State comes to our place. We're not going to their place with a young quarterback. It's flipped. They're coming to our place for a night game with all of America watching, and they're bringing the young quarterback. What do you think Ryan Day is going to do? Ryan Day is going to say, we're going to lean on these guys and pound the ball to take the pressure off that young quarterback and not make him have to make all the plays. It is incumbent at that point for Notre Dame to not get run on, make the young guy beat him, and then not let him do it. That's the plan. That's the plan. But I'm telling you, other teams, but especially the big 3, They're going to try and run it on you. Notre Dame's going to be tested. They're all going to try it. The better teams we play are going to think they have the lines to try and do that. It's going to be a big deal. Going to be a big deal. Eric. P.S. The UM fans and alum in Michigan are the most arrogant a-holes I've ever met, and it's not even close. You're not going to find an argument for me there because anybody who's been here for any amount of time knows how I feel. Oh, man. That's unbelievable. What do we got here, Paul? Snead got a bad grade on pass rush against NC, kept getting blocked and driven out of the path to Rattler. That's a lot of good memory there on that. Tobias is a big target. I really want to see that guy progress. You have Tobias out there. Colsey flashed. You get Thomas going. Then you get Styles out of his own mind back into reality where he could perform again. Then you add in all those young guys, and you have a quarterback that can get the ball, pump it down there a little bit. Now you're cooking with gas. Now Notre Dame might have what I call an actual modern offense for once. That might be what it looks like. I know we're not used to it, but that might be what it looks like. It's beautiful, isn't it? People keep saying the Buckner, Hart. I keep combining them. The Buckman picture. The Buckner Hartman picture is glaring. I have not seen it, but multiple people now have said they don't look the same just by looking. Very interesting to know. Hart Foundation, good to see you here. Good to see you here. Jay Lehman, beautiful. Glad to have you. Oh, man. What else do we got? Let's see. I get backed up on my chats. Looks like we got another call I'm going to get to. Let's get caught up here. There we go. 818.
Beautiful. Glad to have you.
What's going on?
Yeah.
What up?
Well, I did call in. Immediately answer. I just wasn't expecting that. What's up, buddy?
What's going on, man? I want to know how excited you are for spring football, and I want to know what are some of your main thoughts as it all gets started. It's very interesting.
Yeah, well, it's funny. We talked the other day, and I was trying to think of, the biggest. I've never been a big blue gold dude, John. Honestly, I've never paid much attention to it. There's been a couple times in the past where I've been more curious about the blue gold game. And then, during the Kelly era, I think it kind of just became downgraded because of the different formats. It just didn't appeal to me. And like you said, so many times I'd see some player emerge in the blue game. Oh, wow, this guy's going to be great to see. And either number one, that player didn't turn out to be as good as I thought, or they would get hurt, and then you'd never see them the next year anyway.
Yeah.
Or you would think, oh, we have this great defense, and then, we start, or great offense, and we start the year, and it's like, well, that's not happening. So I've just never gotten real super excited at the blue gold game. I'm more wanting to go this year just to see you guys and the tailgating friends I've made and all that. I mean, that's kind of more what it is for me.
Yeah.
However, obviously.
Don't you think though that there's naturally going to be more intrigue year 1 and year 2 of a new coach? A lot of people compared to year 10 of Kelly doing the same thing and being a jerk. You know what I mean? There's just a different vibe.
Yeah. Of course. And I didn't see last year's game. Obviously, that was the Darian Price game where he kind of broke out, and then of course not only broke out but then broke up.
Yeah, I was gonna say. It's just my life that I'm sitting there going, this guy's flashing more than anybody on the team. I love it, and he's so young. And then before you know it, he's done for the year. That lasted 5 minutes that I had that thought of look at this young guy. He looks great. Over.
Right. And so I can't wait to see what this guy's all about, because I got a feeling. And then, with Jeremiah Love that we got this year, that running back room, again, Estime's probably our number one, but between number one and probably even number 5, assuming Love is what we think he can be, man, I don't know that I've seen a more, just between number 1 and number 5, or number 1 and number 4, if you want to just go that far, I don't know that I've seen a more stacked Notre Dame running group. Going back to Holter, of course.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I agree with you. And I like the diversification. That's the other thing. The reason it appeals to me so much is I see high level but diverging skill sets from these guys. And that appeals to me because they're not like clones. Each one kind of has something unique that I love the way they do. Deepest group on the team I feel best about, probably running back.
Right, running back for sure. I mean, I still feel really good about the line. I know we got to replace a couple of guards, but I feel like, I just that position's been so well stacked for the past few years. But of course, if we're talking about what are we looking for? What as far as how are these things going to click? I mean, I can't imagine. By the way, I'm sorry, I'm interrupting myself as I'm talking here. You said they saw, between Sam Hartman and Buckner, you can just see the difference right away. What do they mean? They mean physically, like just in terms of their stature?
I mean,
like
I don't think this was in reaction to like them each throwing 10 deep balls. It looked like it was just a picture of them standing by each other waiting for a drill, and people are just saying one of these doesn't look like the other. So it makes me think that Hartman just looks like an old weathered man, and it makes Buckner look young and small. I don't know how else to take it, but I'm going to look at it right when I get done here.
Yeah, I'm really curious what they mean by that.
Yeah, I'm assuming stature. I'm assuming stature when I'm picturing just them reacting to a picture. That's what it's got to be, right?
I guess so. I mean, because I always thought that Buckner. It's weird. He's deceivingly. How do I put this? He looks like he's in good shape. He's obviously extremely athletic, but he does look a little small. I mean, not like Drew Pine small. You know what I mean? And obviously he's a great athlete and all that, and he's a tough kid. I mean, give him that. But I don't know. I just always thought he would be a little. Again, I know college players can grow throughout their years too. I've seen guys go for 6'1" in the freshman year to 6'5" by the time they're a senior. So who knows? But yeah, I'm just curious to see that, man. Obviously, I still say, like I've said before, the best case scenario for Notre Dame would be for Buckner to push him to the absolute brink, where they make it hard to announce Hartman the starter, but they do anyway. That would be the best thing for both guys.
Yep, I think you're right. And it would just be an indicator of Notre Dame's quarterback situation improving and modernizing and getting more like what we've all been saying it needs to look like to be able to compete. And it would be a really good sign. I keep telling people this. Last year, I felt like the two areas that were the weakest in terms of depth in the room were probably quarterback and wide receiver going into the year. They've both been addressed heavily and really well. And I applaud the staff for recognizing that. And they've done a really good job in both those rooms.
Yeah, I mean, it's so weird to go from a position of relative weakness to, I'd say, relative strength.
Yeah.
I mean, you got maybe the most experienced quarterback in college football, most likely going to be your starter, and you have a vastly improved wide receiver core just on paper, right now, and of course, an incredibly deep running back room, a really, really solid, if not great, offensive line, and it could be great. I think there's a lot to be seen in terms of how Rudolph, acclimates with the coaching style that they're used to and whatever. So, I mean, honestly, I think it's going to take a few games. I think that's just the way Notre Dame is. Even when they're stacked, I can't tell you how many times coming into a season, oh man, this group's going to be great. This is going back to like 25, 30 years ago, and then it wouldn't be what we would think, and then as the year goes on, it becomes what we think, So I think that's probably going to happen, but that's why I think that Ohio State game at week 5, that's such a good time to have that game, because by then you better have all your kinks worked out. You know what I mean?
You better have. And, not only that, you better have all your kinks worked out. And by the way, you need to be 4-0. Like there is no world, there is no freaking world where it's acceptable to even conceive going into that game with a loss. So you need to figure it out. I know NC State's a tough, tricky in-between away game. Just Figure out a way to grind out a win, but that's the big key to me. For this all to line up, you got to be undefeated heading into that game. And it all it all has to line up.
Why do I feel like the toughest game of those four is going to be the East Tennessee State game?
Because it's just the way it goes, man. Because it's Notre Dame. Yeah, that's going to be our Toledo. It's going to be this year's. It's going to be this year's Toledo. It's going to be Ball State, and it's going to be Vanderbilt. Those all come to mind of like ugly games against teams you shouldn't be close, and then we end up winning, and then we all move on.
Right.
Find a way.
And also, I know this is a blue gold thing, but I understand as a fan how important, and again, going back to what we talked about in terms of when you started really getting involved in Notre Dame football versus when I did. The reason why I'm triple circling the Ohio State game as the one we must have, because I keep thinking to myself, we're going to have opportunities to play USC year in, year out. When are we going to play Ohio State again? And Marcus Freeman coming from Ohio State, he wants that game.
Yeah.
I mean, he wants that game.
Yeah.
So I still feel like of the two, I want him to win all three of the big three, obviously, Clemson, Ohio State, USC, but I still feel like Ohio State is the slightly more important one for us to win.
Can I ask you a question about that? Can I ask you a clarifying question about that? And there's no sarcasm or whatever. I've been fighting with this issue too of these games and their importance. I would like to know how much of your leaning towards the Ohio State one being a little bigger, how much of that has to do with where it sits in the schedule? Like, are you calculating in that Ohio State is the first hurdle of the big three, and that if you win that game, you're guaranteed pretty much top 5 if you're undefeated, and then like we build from there? How much of your thought process is where that game's at in the schedule versus USC being later? Like, are you saying you think it's important to get that one first? Like, how does the scheduling play into that, or not at all? I don't know.
Yeah, literally zero. Has nothing to do with where it's placed at all.
Okay.
It has everything to do with the national spotlight being, listen, if we lost to USC again this year, let's say USC ends up losing 3 or 4 games. I do think it's weird, man. You can beat a great team, right, and get that win, and then lose to a team with 4 or 5 losses, and somehow it's almost in some ways better to do that than it is to beat the team you're supposed to beat and lose slightly to the great team, because it just shows the college football world, oh, these guys are players now. I just think if we beat Ohio State, that does so much, not only for the national perception of Notre Dame, but also for the confidence of the players themselves. Okay, we can be an elite top level, football school. USC's not there yet, man. So I don't think the benchmark of us winning, plus we've had their ass for many, many years anyway. I know it sucks to see your rival immediately win 2 games in a row against you. I get that. I totally do. But I'm just saying, if you didn't have Ohio State in the schedule, it would be a completely different conversation.
Yeah.
But because you did, because we've had our ass handed to us 4 times in my lifetime by them, never came closer than double digits. I think from a perceptual standpoint, that game is the biggest one Notre Dame's going to have. I just think we need that game, man. I think we need that game so bad.
Yeah, it does. It's a tone setter. It's a tone setter.
If we do lose by a couple points and we do get by USC, I'll accept that. But it's going to be in the back of my mind. I'm like, oh, we just have never beaten Ohio State in my lifetime. Never even, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That just hurts.
And if you're going to get them in the modern era, if you're going to get them, having them at your place where they have the new quarterback they're breaking in would be your best chance. Like, that lines up in your favor.
And the last time they came to Notre Dame Stadium, they made us look very bad, and that was under Lou Holtz in 1996.
And was
they
that
won by double digits?
Was it John Cooper then? Was that John Cooper team?
Say again.
Who was the coach for Ohio State? Was that a John Cooper? Is that who that was?
Oh, yeah. That was John Cooper. Yeah, both in 95 and 96. Tressel didn't come until a couple years after that. I would say Cooper retired and then Tressel took over. Yeah, man, that's all. I mean, as far as that goes, but throughout the year, I mean, the biggest question mark, honestly, it is the front seven. I think I just would have a hard time seeing the linebackers continue to kind of just play under, like just barely solid. You know what I mean? I feel like that's a group that's ready to pop. I really do. I do have my question marks about the defensive line. And it's not so much the personnel as it is the coach. I'm just not sold on Al Washington. I'm not.
Yeah, I got a couple. I got worries with both. I got worries with both a little bit. Both the personnel and the depth and the rotation. All of it.
Yeah, I just feel like I'm surprised the linebackers haven't popped yet, because I really did think that coming into last year, while the experience was a little down, I thought they had the talent, and then with the coaching pedigree that was coaching linebackers, I also thought that would play itself out. And it didn't. I didn't think they played terrible or anything. I was a little disappointed. Like you said, they always seem to be a split second late. And I didn't feel like it was because of speed. It was because of just maybe not exact. So again, maybe that has more to do with the system changing slightly with Al Golden coming in. Maybe this year all that gets figured out. So I would expect that group, that much like the defensive backfield last year becoming the strength of the team, I think the linebackers are going to make the biggest step from a defensive standpoint.
And that would be a big help. And here's the reason I like that. I like the way you're setting that up, because I feel like the linebackers have more support in terms of quality depth and guys they can move around and use than the defensive line does, just because of body type and weight issues with like what you need up front, especially. So I really like that, because if the linebacker group is able to be more consistent and reliable in their play, that can help the defensive line. Like if that group's better behind them, I just can't have both of them struggling, because now you're just kind of screwed. You're screwed then.
Well, John, we just got to make sure that Jean the Baptiste absolves the sins of the defensive line.
I know, man. It sounds like a saint for sure. Jean Baptiste.
Jean the Baptiste. I love that.
John the Baptiste. That's great. Jean the Baptiste.
Yeah. By the way, man, you probably can't talk about this on the air, so I've talked about behind the scenes. I'm trying to will this Goolsby thing into existence, man. I just think that needs to happen.
I think
Mike Goolsby.
It's still in the works. It's still in the works. I have some professional considerations I have to be careful of deals he has other places. And so I'm just trying to be respectful of that. But our personalities line up dangerously close. And so I think it would be a good time when it happens. I'm working on it, though. Trust me.
Well, especially having a guy like that who also, obviously played in Notre Dame, was highly respected.
Yeah.
And just that old throwback style. Great player, too, but also that old throwback style. Really like listening to him. So, yeah, I just think you guys would be great. On that note, man, I guess I'm going to have a question for you here. Like, what, I just from listening to the show, I can hear your concerns and, kind of where things lie for you. But if there's something that maybe you haven't talked about as much or haven't, right now, like, what is one other thing that you're looking for that maybe hasn't been brought up a lot on the show that you think is one of those X factors? For me, it's the special teams coordinator. Like, to me, it's like, okay, we just lost Brian Mason, one of the best we've had ever.
Yeah.
And, so that's a big one for me. What about you? Where do you fall on that?
Where I fall on that is I took a lot of crap. The show I did the day after he took that job in the NFL. And I had a bunch of people saying, you're embarrassing yourself having that emotional show, saying that was so important. And why shouldn't be that mad. It's just special teams. I don't care, man. They were the one unit of the three that were consistent almost every week and played at a winning level every week. And I knew what I was going to get. I don't want that to drop back. I don't want that to drop back. So that is a big, it's a big deal to me. It's a big deal to me. I'm sorry.
Well, and you bring up something too that I've thought about. And, I've always, and again, maybe this is just me maybe it's my perceptual understanding of things being a Notre Dame fan, and maybe it's not reality, but doesn't it seem like, for whatever reason, when we have coaches that do well, everybody in the world wants our coaches. Yet you see these, like, I forget his name, the defensive coordinator at Clemson that took the Oklahoma job.
Venables.
Yeah, Venables. Yeah, I mean, it's like, why was he a defensive coordinator for 20 freaking years when his teams are always considered such great defensive, units? And why he gets to stay there 2 years, and our guys, they're getting poached after 1 or 2. I just don't get that.
Yeah.
And unless I'm wrong, I know it happens to Saban every year. I'm always.
I think the answer to that, I got the answer to that. The answer to that is finding a situation like that with a guy that's that good is going to be rare. Like, not that it's impossible, but it's going to be rare to find a guy willing to be in one spot that long without going for the head coaching job or whatever. I just think it's rare. What that run was very, very rare.
Even going back to the Bobby Bowden years. I mean, wasn't it Mickey Mary? Who was his defensive coordinator? There was Mariotti. Is that who I'm thinking of? That was there for like ever. And I mean, all his defense were always ranked in the top 10 like every year. And it's like, how is this guy?
Now, you know what else too? You know what else might help? I don't know what he was getting paid, but it would go a long way if you told that guy, if you get another offer for the same position anywhere else, you come to me first, and I'll make sure you get $1 million more than that deal is just to keep you here. Now, when it turns into a head job, then it's all hands are off. That's a different, because it's a promotion. That's different. But I would tell Venables, we love you. We got a good thing going here. We're grooving. Everything's good. You get another offer, come to us. We'll match it, do better, whatever. That's a part of it too, is taking care of that money.
I mean, John, I was shocked when Clark Leah stayed the 3rd year. I thought for sure he was gone after year 2 with as good as he was doing.
Yeah.
Like, wow, we actually got him for 3 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That just doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, but I just think it's rare to do that. And here's the other thing too, though. People say, oh, Saban, these guys come and go and they don't stick around, and then whatever. And Venables was there forever. Now he's gone. Here's the other thing. Georgia too has guys coming and going. If you're doing all that, you got to win something people care about at some point while you have these good guys. So it's not just a revolving door, but you're not winning anything while the door is revolving.
You know what? You're absolutely right. But I am going to say this, man. I've said it before, but I thought about this right before I called in. I was like, I'm going to have to bring this up. And it's weird because I'm upset like you are that we don't have at least a playoff win. You know what I mean? I understand maybe not a national title, but even a playoff win. But then I think about it. Well, let's see. 2012, we played one of the all-time great Alabama football teams.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, great timing.
One of the all-time greatest teams in college football, Trevor Lawrence led Clemson. And then in 2020, one of the all-time great Alabama teams. I mean, the only thing that would have completed the trifecta is if we had to play 2019 LSU, and of course we didn't quite make it to the playoffs that year. So, it's like, I guess I look at it that way, and it's like, a lot of other teams, most other teams would have gotten beat the same way. So it's a weird thing to gauge. Part of it's just bad luck, man. Why couldn't we have gotten Kansas State
I know.
in 2012?
I know.
I feel like we'd have a trophy in the case, John.
But dude,
like
I'm going to ask you if you remember this. I remember where I was that night waiting for the 2 night games and who was going to win or lose that would determine if we're like in the championship game or not, like whatever. And then I remember sitting there confused, like, I'm pretty sure we're number 1 in the country right now. And I also not sure that's good. I remember having that feeling.
John, I remember
thinking that this might be bad. We're number 1. We're number 1. And I might not like it because we would play Alabama instead of Kansas State. Rather not be number 1 and play them.
John, I remember going into the game. Maybe it was a couple weeks before the national title game. And I remember Eric Hansen, longtime Notre Dame beat writer, and Darren Pritchard on the Sports Talk 96.1. Having this debate. And it's the one time I actually heard them get kind of angry at one another. because Darren was basically of the opinion of, I don't think Notre Dame fans care, or college football fans really care about who you beat. They see a trophy, and that's what they'll remember. And Eric took the opinion of, I want to beat the best team. I bring on Alabama. And I was totally in agreement with Darren. I'm like, you know what? They might say it for a week or two after the game.
No.
But 2 years later, no one's going to remember that.
Listen.
They remember you won.
Championships and Heismans live forever. They live forever, and they're just standing forever. It doesn't matter who it is we beat. And what is another team going to go, oh, you didn't play the best team? Who cares? We're the champions. Wouldn't matter to me at all at that point, because there's not a damn thing they could say. And all you would have to do is just show them a picture of the trophy, and they have no comeback.
Absolutely. And that's why I was like, that was ridiculous. That's not what happened, obviously. Kansas State lost that
now,
game.
Wait, let me ask you a very, very difficult question now. Let me ask you this. Here we go. So we went from that end to the extreme where we ran the table, had one shot at a championship, got our faces blown off in Miami. I believe that was Miami. But now we're in a position where starting next year, there's wider, easier access to the playoff. But Notre Dame's going to have to string off and rip a bunch of wins in a row to get to the ultimate goal. What's the better chance for Notre Dame? Going undefeated in the regular season, having a one-game shot, or being able to lose one or two and then get in the field and then get on a heater? What's the easier path to a title for Notre Dame, the old way or this way?
This way. This way for sure, because you're in the playoffs. Anybody has a chance once you get in that.
So you're going with the more rolls of the dice. You should be in it more. You got to be in it to win it at all. So that increases your chances philosophy. I get that.
Well, and I also think it's going to be interesting to see how, this is going to be exciting, John, to see how this, because I understand the Josh Pate argument that's going to diminish some of the regular season games.
Mm-hmm.
I do see that, and I do agree with that. Whereas in some cases, it's going to make them even more special, because let's say you're at the end of the season and the team is on the brink of getting in the playoffs if they win this game. So there is that too. But I do agree. Like, let's say Ohio State and Michigan are playing at the end of the year, and one's number one, the other one's number two. Well, no matter who wins or loses, they're both going to be in the playoffs and quite possibly in the top four.
Yeah.
So
you're right.
That's where I don't like it. It's going to diminish those games where, okay, number one versus number two. Number two probably will only drop to 3 or 4, or either one of those teams that they lose unless they get their asses kicked.
Yeah.
So it's like that game becomes less meaningful.
So you can argue, here's what's going to happen. I know what's going to happen, and it's going to happen to me too. Here's what's going to happen. People like me are going to be traditionalists and say, like you did, I enjoy the do or die, gotta win it or your life is over aspect of college football. That's why we love it. That's why it has a different energy than baseball. There's not 162 of these. There's only 12. Every one of them carries a lot of weight, and it should. Now, it's not going to carry as much weight for the reasons you said. However, if Notre Dame benefits from that one year, I'm going to be glad that we're in it with one loss or two and that we're in it. So then I'm going to be glad to play it on that side,
And John, again, also, now we still would have to be in the top 8 to host a home game, because obviously if you're 9, 10, 11, and 12, you're the visiting team. But still, that thought of, eventually it's going to happen. Whether it's the first year, the playoffs come out, or somewhere down the line, the Notre Dame's going to host the playoff game. And
it's going to be wild.
I would trade that.
It's going to be wild.
Man. I absolutely.
Can you imagine? I can't even wrap my mind around conceptually Notre Dame hosting our own playoff game the week of Christmas in South Bend. It's absolutely wild. And I want it to be a reality. That is going to be historic the first time we're in that position.
Also, have you been hearing, I don't know if it was brought up, and you're right, absolutely historic. Can't wait. What about this talk about Notre Dame possibly moving the USC game to the end of the year like they do, when it's a home game as well? They got to come up here and have to face us in the elements for a change.
I mean, I love it. Like if you could get in a position, but Would this come into play because of the Big Ten agreement and what their obligations are with that? Like, why would USC agree to come play us in more cold weather unless they had to? I guess that's my question.
Here's another thing. Actually, I just realized something else you just said when you mentioned that. That's another reason why I think Notre Dame will eventually join the Big Ten. The Big Ten is becoming a national conference. And that's the biggest thing Notre Dame not joining a conference in the beginning was because of money, because at one time they didn't share the same amount of revenue that they do now. So it was more of an advantage, along with having their own network, to be independent. Now that's not looking like nearly, if at all. I think they're actually losing money at this point. But then you take it to the other step, and it's from being a national school, being able to schedule your own teams. I mean, the Big Ten is basically becoming a national conference anyway, especially if they get if Oregon gets in there and Washington gets in there.
Yeah, but it's just funny. You look at, like, we're all in this conference together, and you have LA, and then you have like Rutgers. It couldn't be literally further apart. Like, it's literally diagonal across the entire country. It couldn't be further apart. They're in the same conference.
I got to give them credit, though, man. I got to give the Big Ten credit for being able to pull that off, because you talk about being able to rival the SEC. And, that's one way to do it. If for no other reason, from a perceptual standpoint.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man, take us out of it, us and USC out of it, whatever. I am just really interested to see USC playing some of these Big Ten teams week in and week out, instead of just watching them at 2 a.m. playing their night game at Arizona State with 4 people there. Like, I'm really excited to see USC get in this new mix.
John,
it's going to be interesting. I'm interested.
I'm also very excited to see Michigan, Ohio State have to play someone other than a high school team the first 7 8 games of the year.
Yep, me too. Yep, that's a part of it too. It's not going to be as easy for them to run through there now. So things are going to get really interesting, man. And here's how I look at it. Year 1, get situated, Marcus. Year 2 is the calibration year. And then year 3, people are going to start expecting really, really big things. So I want to see what calibrations the guy's making.
Yeah. I mean, and this really is, to me, this is the year that's going to tell if Marcus Freeman was the right hire. Because regardless of, if they're in the, a 14 playoff, that's not the biggest deal for me. I want to see improvement from last year. Like I said, I think it's going to be more incremental than people want to. But if 9-4 is your bottom, that ain't bad. You know what I mean? McKelly's bottom was 8-5 for several years, if you remember. It took him a while to get back to that, to reaching, sub-elite status. Or there, I guess you could say elite 8, because they were, among the 8-10 best teams in the country, I would say, under Kelly those years. So I'll give them that. But, if we're starting at 9-4, as long as we're moving up, just a little bit, as long as we're going in that direction, I have absolute faith this is working out. Yep. It's going to make me very nervous if for some reason we take an even further step back. I don't even want to think of that. But
I would like to think in an ideal situation, the defense is going to be a little bit of a worry at times. Realistically, I think that. But I am hopeful this offense looks so much more like a real big boy one, that is enough to carry us where we need it to accomplish a lot of these goals. And I feel very uncomfortable going that way, because the defense has been the backbone of the program since 2017. And the only reason we've been decent at all, it hasn't been those offenses. So for me to feel like that's going to flip is a little uncomfortable, but I think it might be the reality.
I think it is certainly the reality for this year. It's such a weird question mark, because I think it's those linebackers, John. I think we know that the defensive line's probably going to take a hopefully not a big step back, but at least a half a step back. I don't think and they weren't great last year. They were good, but they weren't great. Mm-hmm. So I expect them to be solid, if not just slightly better than average. What we got to hope for is that the linebackers make a great improvement. Then you still have a really good defense, because those back 4 are going to be good. I'm convinced that the secondary is going to be really, really good.
Yep. Well, man, we covered a lot of ground. So here's what we'll do. We'll be in touch, and then we'll figure out what the plan is for blue and gold. And if the weather's good, I'll be there and we'll all meet up.
Right on, man. By the way, you already had your tickets for the game? Or are you getting how are you doing that? You already got Blue Gold tickets?
I just usually wait, and then the few days before, people that get some to their phone, like for different event, somebody sends me one. It's so easy now digitally. It's just a text. So I wait until the people I know that have a bunch have extra, and then they text me one, and you go, here you go. So I'm just gonna lay low, and then if I don't have one, I'll just buy one the night before or something.
Man, sounds good. Well, either way, I'm going to be there. We'll meet up then, and yeah, that'll be fun.
Beautiful. Have a good one, man. Thanks for the call. You're always spinning. That wheels spinning in your brain in Notre Dame land. I love it.
This gave me my show, man. Always spinning.
There you go. Later, bro.
All right, bye.
See ya. Oh, he always has so many thoughts. I love it. 773. You're talking to me if I could hit the right button. There you go. 773.
John, how are you, sir?
I'm doing very well. I am excited that we finally have real football to talk about again. Where are you at? How are you feeling on day one?
Hey, man, I'm in Texas, and, I love all the stuff coming out of Texas going to Notre Dame these days. I haven't been able to call in a while. Obviously, always listening, always appreciate you and the shows and everything else. So, I had a few minutes between a quick lunch workout and being able to call you before I go back to work. So, I just kind of, there's been so much to talk about, you know what I mean? But, I mean, honestly, I think for me, typically during the season, I'll call you. I'll call in and I'll give a bunch of numbers and stats and try to, really kind of speak to some of the thoughts. But, right now, everything is very conceptual, right? So
Yeah.
we're talking about, what may happen, what we hope will happen, all these things.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing I'm surprised about, and this is kind of what I wanted to call in, man, I'm so surprised about, and don't get me wrong, I like Buckner. I think, again, Buckner is got a ton of talent. And if you can say a kid did what he did with the amount of experience or lack of experience that he has in the bowl game, it was phenomenal. And
Yeah.
there's no doubt that the kid has just a ton of upside.
Yeah, and I was
And
very,
I'm
very happy
hoping-
for him. That was a little bit of payoff for a lot of frustration. So I'm very, very happy and proud of him that he was able to carry that win.
Yeah, man, I hope he stays, and I hope he really takes the opportunity to learn from Hartman. Minchie had said a few times, he's watched Hartman for a while and is learning from him. But I'm so surprised at how many people are still balking at the Hartman thing. I totally get, like, he's not a Notre Dame guy and all that stuff, but I do think Freeman and everybody else had to hedge their bets because, again, with Buckner's history and the amount of experience he actually has, there's no way we can kind of do that again.
You're seeing it the way I do, and I'm having trouble seeing people that don't see it that way. What else do you need to see? Look at what happened last year. They tried to roll the dice with the unknown athletic younger guy with upside, and then he got hurt right away, and then we were in a bad spot all year, and they literally can't afford that risk again. And that's what it would be again if you didn't get another guy. And then it just so happens the other guy is the best one that happened to be available and interested. Like, these are Notre Dame things. Like, it all just happened.
Yeah. Again, there's no way. If he would have went with Buckner and Buckner would have got hurt, then it would have been, Freeman should have gone out and gotten somebody. So it's just one of those, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't situations. I'm Notre Dame through and through, and it hurts me when people leave. It hurts me when they want to leave. It hurts me when they transfer out. It hurts me when they can't, they have to be let go of their NLI or national letter of intent, right?
Yeah.
So all those things. But I understand why they had to get somebody, just because, like I said, Buckner's history. I think Buckner, if he's healthy, he's good. And the more experience he gets, he's going to be great.
But see, there's the nuance. There's the nuance here, man. I'm not blaming Buckner for bad luck and bad injury and bad timing. So, like, sometimes I struggle to conceptualize and phrase this dynamic in a way that doesn't come off like you're crapping on Buckner. I say over and over again, bad injuries, bad timing, bad luck. That is what this guy has had ever since, like, high school even. And so I feel bad about that. But I totally get why the staff identified Hartman. And then it's like, there is an established high level floor you know you're going to get out of this guy. And if Buckner's the backup, you feel way better about that. That is completely logical to me. Where Buckner's mind is at with all this, I don't know that answer.
Buckner's a smart guy, and I can't imagine that he's not self-reflective enough to see
the big picture,
his history, and how much how much experience he has. So, again, I'm hoping he stays, because I do think like next year is going to be a big year for him. Hopefully, because the argument is, well, now he's going to have another year of non-experience. But there's a saying, right? And the saying is, you hope for the best, but you plan for the worst. And ultimately, that's the way that I see it.
But
that's what we're doing.
Let's say we go with that. Let's say it's Hartman 1, Buckner 2 this year. Buckner loves Notre Dame, wants the degree, he's going to stay. And then you have a situation the following year where you'll have Buckner as an upperclassman older guy. You'll have Minchie ready to play, and then you'll have CJ Carr coming in right away. Is that a dynamic where it's finally Buckner's time to roll? And then if something happens to him, at least the backups that aren't experienced, we feel like are high-level talent and have high-level bodies. And that's not what it was last year. So that scenario would be an improvement too.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, we're looking better. As far as Carr goes, that's still so far out, man. I'm done being excited about people that say they're going to sign.
Yeah,
verbals,
you can't afford the emotions. You can't afford the emotion,
yeah.
the burn of buying in.
Listen, I'm just outside of Austin and Texas, and obviously UT is huge here, and I am a UT fan as well, just by living here and going to games and knowing a few coaches and stuff like that. And so the big talk here is obviously you got Manning that's here, right? Manning is here, and Quinn Ewers is here, and everybody from what I hear, Quinn Ewers is gonna be the starter this year. Manning, as great as he is and all the attributes that he brings to the table, he's probably gonna sit for a year, get experience, do all that stuff. So if Carr does come in, I'm not expecting him to start over anybody else. But also too, let me throw this out there, because this is the part that I find funny. Because if you think about it, you look at a quarterback room, you got Hartman, you got obviously Buckner, you got Minchie, Angeli, Minchie, right? That's the quarterback room right now. Last year, Hartman, Buckner, and Minchie were all hurt. So, like, the healthiest dude on our roster long term is actually Angeli, which is a little bit scary. So again, I think it's hey, hope for the best, plan for the worst. So in terms of QB, that's how I feel.
Yeah. And then also, this leads right into this. Also, a part of me legitimately feeling significantly more confidence about the quarterback room overall. What that does by default is, one, that makes the wide receiver situation better right away, because you're going to have quarterbacks that are more capable of leading you right, making the reads, getting guys the ball. They're not 4'3" and getting balls blocked out. Like, that all helps that right away. And here's the other part of this that I connect full picture. I'm worried a little bit about the defense this year, and that's uncomfortable for me because they've been the strength usually. Now I'm worried about them. If the offense is a lot better, they're going to, one, score more points, two, be on the field longer. That's going to take some pressure off the defense. So that could help that way as well on the back end.
Same concerns, D-line, linebackers, Again, we'll see how that goes. That we're going to see how it plays out.
Double Owls. Do you feel like there's pressure on double Owls? Because I do too. I think the microscope's on them 2 Owls this year. I do.
It's definitely on the Owls. I think if they don't have a good year, Golden's out after this year anyway. But I'll touch on everybody talks about Reese and losing Reese. In terms of the process and which occurred, I'm in your boat. Like, hey, nobody really knows what happened, but something definitely happened. There was a mix-up. There was a screw-up. There was a miscommunication.
Yep.
Something occurred. I don't know what it was.
Just tighten it up. Tighten it all up moving forward, so we're not all exposed to that level moving forward. That's all I could ask. Tighten it up.
Yeah, I know a few hardcore people that were just not happy with it, and I'm like, you know what? I guess we needed a QB coach. I'm glad we got one. You know, Gaduli. We got a lot of Italians on the field now.
We got the Googly Emmy. We got the Googly Emmy complex. I got the Gugigi coach. We got a lot of Guggen going on.
We got the Biaggi, right?
Yeah, we got Biaggi. Man, I'm telling you, we got an Italian restaurant waiting to happen here.
I'm telling you, man, it's like Cincinnati Italian place. But you know, in terms of Reese, the way that I see it is this: one, nobody should be surprised that Reese left. He interviewed with Miami last year, didn't take or didn't get the job. Not sure what it was.
Yeah.
Two, Reese had to go because honestly, if Reese stays this year with the quarterback that we have, with the offensive line that we have, with the running backs that we have, if Reese shit the bed this year, Reese's options for future potential are gone. He had to go. And Alabama came calling, he had to take that. He had to take that opportunity because again, if he's here this year, with the potential that's there, if Notre Dame's offense is no good,
yeah,
Reese's future is vastly diminished in terms of opportunity. So he, you know, in my opinion, he had to go. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and people are still telling me, man, that's not a promotion, that's not a better job. He has the same title. That offends me. They have the same title, but only on paper. There's no way you're telling me it isn't a benefit to be under the tutelage of a guy that has done as much as Saban has, and the opportunity to have 5-star guys at all the best positions that you need. Like, I get why he did it. It's fine, but I'm not crying over it.
Not to constantly hit things, right? There's a saying: you work for the job that you want, not the job that you have. And if you look at the body of work from Tommy Reese's predecessors at Alabama, either they've come from the NFL or gone to the NFL or are currently head coaches. So in terms of it not being a promotion, it definitely is in terms of future opportunity, but also too, just in terms of money. I mean, they're giving him like $2.1 million. He's getting paid more there.
Here's the other thing, man. So depending on who you believe, I've had a few different people tell me there was some stuff going on behind the scenes with Tommy, maybe having a little attitude, carrying himself as if he's head coach 1A in certain ways. Like, I have heard there was some of that behind the scenes going on, and I don't know if that plays into it or not. Tommy's going to be a Notre Dame guy forever, and I'll respect him for that. But I heard multiple people tell me that sometimes there was this weird power dynamic of him thinking he was maybe head coach 1A, and that just doesn't work.
I've heard the same thing, and I've heard also too that, you know, obviously Marcus Freeman didn't choose him. He was chosen for Marcus Freeman as he got the job. Like, they were keeping him and then ultimately were hiring Marcus Freeman. So again, it wasn't his guy. Right. I heard that they did refer to him as the head coach of the offense, and that's total like BS, man. Like, don't pull the rug out of the new head from under the new head coach.
What would your reaction be? What would your reaction be if I said what I said at the time, which was, if I had my way, the second they hired Freeman, I wish he would have got rid of Tommy and done his own thing right away, make a clean break from the Freeman era, everything Kelly, make a clean break from Kelly and everything with it. Start your own thing with your guys, with your name, pick a guy. Like, I could argue that would have been a cleaner, easier path. But I do understand why they wanted a conduit there that's been there to ease this in 1 year. I kind of get that too. But I think everybody needs to grow and go do their own thing. It frees Freeman up to put more his DNA on this, and it frees Reese up to get out of the shadow of the dome and go do something new.
I get both sides. I get why Notre Dame is wanting the consistency, but also too, Marcus Freeman's coming into it. He's a first-year head coach at a huge program. It's not like he's at some like rinky-dink program that he's going to, you know, to try to get his chops so he can get a big job at some point. He's coming into Notre Dame. So I think at that point, you know, Freeman's like, well, I mean, shit, is it, I don't do this and don't take the job? Like, hell no, I'm taking this job.
Exactly.
I'll take Reese for a year or two and then come in and put my own stuff in there. So I think I see both sides of it. You know, I mean, it's not, there is nothing cut and dry when it comes to Notre Dame.
No,
nothing.
Never,
right?
never. Never. Dude, it's so bizarre. Like, I wonder if these other fan bases go through it, but it doesn't seem to me whatever happens, nobody ever agrees. It's never crystal clear. It's never black and white. Everything's gray. Like, there's always opposite total stories of what the reality is. Like, there's something about all this that it just all gets weird. It just all gets weird.
Yeah.
And I'm probably a part of it.
I mean,
I'm probably a part of that problem. I'm not saying I'm not. I'm just acknowledging it's real.
Well, listen, there's some shows out there where, man, if you say something bad, it's like, it's a huge faux pas, man. Like, they don't want to hear it. They don't want to acknowledge it. They don't like differing opinions.
You mean say something bad? Say something bad like you're worried about this part of the team? Or do you mean like if you disagree with their opinion on something?
Both. Depending on what it is, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
that makes
sometimes
sense.
they don't address it, but there's bad out there. I mean, it's going to happen. So, you know, I'm interested to see what happens this year. I'm cautiously optimistic.
Me too.
We'll see what happens when we get into the big games.
That's a cautiously optimistic is a good way to put it. Like, kind of, I feel like I might like a lot of what I see, but I can only really believe it when I see it in front of my eyes, right?
There's nothing else you can. I mean, again, everything is speculation. It's optimism. There's certainly people out there who are negative. Like I see some of the chats, and I talk to just even friends of mine, and I'm just like, man, like, are you sure you're a Notre Dame fan? Because I really feel like you want them to lose.
Yeah, I know. I know. It's bizarre.
You can also constitute people being a realist about Notre Dame as sometimes being negative as well, just because. And I think that happens a lot just because of the reality.
Well, I've taken that heat.
What we do.
I took that. That was my main thing with the end of the Kelly era. That's what I took the heat for, being a realist, saying, I love that he's gotten us to a certain point, but if he doesn't change how he recruits, there is a glass ceiling. We are never getting by no matter what. And are we spinning our wheels here? And then the years went by, the recruiting didn't change. We got to a certain level and never above it. And that's exactly what happened. So I don't know, man. I want this to be different so badly.
I hear you. Hey, John, listen, I got about 8 minutes before my next conference call, man. Hey, listen, always love to call in. Great to talk to you again. We'll be calling it again as soon as I have some time.
Beautiful.
Have a great show. Go
Appreciate it. Hey, look up some more stats. I like when you bring those to the table. Come up with something interesting for next time.
Sounds good, my man. We'll
Later. Have a good one. Man, I love these people out and about working, and they're still thinking about Notre Dame, calling this show. That's beautiful. All right, folks, I got some things to do. That's going to be it. Thank you, everybody, for calling, everybody for chatting, everybody for donating. I'm going to do some stuff I got to do. And then this afternoon, I'm going to start digging into some of the reports and the pictures and everything from the first day of camp, positional stuff, what guys are where, get some of that insight. And then the next show we have live, probably Friday morning, we'll be able to go over some of what we've learned so far from spring and take a look at what we can read from it. So thanks, everybody, for being here. Even you, Cousin Luke. Stick around, Cousin Luke. We're going to get your positivity coming. Look at this. The beginning of the end of the Freeman era begins today. Cousin Luke, do we need to go drink some beers together? You got to lighten up. Have a good one.